Welcome everyone. We are back with another podcast, and today we are going to talk about a very I think interesting topic, which is gonna be creativity. And it is, I think, very fascinating, as creativity is somewhere one of the key traits for humans. But of course, we will express our opinions about the importance of creativity, and also about the appearance of creativity, and actually about everything that is connected to creativity. And as usual, Patrick is with me, and also Domi is with me.
Yeah, welcome back, everyone.
Welcome, welcome. So the funny thing and the best thing in creativity is you just can't define it very easily. So it's complicated because we use our creativity to define creativity, and it's just simply mind blowing. So let's start with this. I think that's what you guys think about this the basics, the foundation of creativity. What is it, and how it all started? How can we explain it to somebody?
Would you like to start with this, Roland?
I can. I think. See, I believe creativity. So it is gonna be a very different phenomena for everyone. And and similarly, as you just said, because creativity itself is very creative, which sounds weird, but like, I mean, under when we try to explain it, we need to use it, and so it's gonna be very personal, as our experiences with it gonna be very different. Um, and I, for my point of view, or perception of creativity, I think of it as um, as the trait which you have to create, to make something new, to have a new idea, or to have a special idea, which is like not necessarily never seen before or anything, but like it is special it is on its own way. And I believe creativity is something like um, a trait in humans which exists in everyone, but everyone expresses it in the things that they are good at.
Yeah, I can agree with you to 100%. To 100%, I would say the creativity is like the an insider talent of a human being, or just like a simple ability to create something, or creativity is like an intellectual thing. So you actually cannot just like physically imagine it. What is it? But of course, it's inside our brain. So I would say that right after the bat, that you have something to think about, and you're really trying to create something, and right after that thought in your head is there, it exists there, that I need to create something, I need to be creative. Then right after you do the first step, I would say this creativity turns into like something like an imagination, or like something which can you do more, which can you like invent new things or existing things, but it's on your own way. Because as we all know, every single human brain works differently, works in another perspective, no no one has the same ideas, no one has the same point of view, no one has the same experiences, and I believe all these things combined usually makes up the like borders and the limitation of your creativity and your level of creativity. So as a matter of fact, for instance, I believe that those people who are more into like arts, more into these these things like art itself, I would say.
Yeah.
So like painting, creating something with your hands, and try to replicate it. What's inside your brain, what inside your imagination, and what's inside your imagination via creativity that you can actually explain on a simple like canvas or a paper, things like that. So I believe those people who are more like into art, they actually have a stronger creativity level, because they don't need reasons behind things, and they just usually can let their brain go and have it with the flow of not thinking about reasons behind existing or non-existing things. So yeah, this is what creativity is like. For me, it's a bit like complicated, I know, but it's hard to explain, as a matter of fact, because I myself consider myself like a quite creative person, but I'm not really into arts. So it's like, as you can see, it's a contradiction. But I think I'm not that creative like an artist who sings, who writes poems, who like do art and stuff. Yeah.
I think you just said the keyword. So, flow. Uh, as I see it, creativity isn't something that you force, that you can force. No, it's something that is that is there in everyone, and the people we talk about being creatives are people who can bring it out, but not create creativity. Creativity is there. So I think I learned it this way of thinking about it in a drama club. So there was a task, an exercise where we have to just simply tell the first word we had in our mind. So we had to imagine people, we had to imagine certain situations. And first, everybody was thinking. So everybody was forced to say something, to have a creative thought. But in the end, after a lot of practice, it all just came. So you don't have to think to be creative. So it it's just come. I think you are creative when you don't think about being one. And if you're talking about the artists that you explained, or yeah, painters, I believe they have something unusual that yeah, they just don't focus on the different aspects of their paints, or any kind of show. They just simply let it out. Yeah, just let it out, flow.
Yeah, it's like I, it, for me a lot of times, especially because I'm a visual thinker. that like it's just a picture that pops into your head about something, and it just kicks in like as of course ideas just kicks in. You don't know from what from what it came, or of course it can have its inspirations, but usually you don't have an exact source. You just had the idea and it kicked in, and it's actually it's actually just a really good way to have a thought in your head and then make something from it. And that's not necessarily art. It can be art, of course, but I really believe that it can be anything, because if you've got a good idea in I don't know, if you've got a good idea to solve a math problem, which is a new idea, and you tell it to your teacher, it's gonna be pretty creative, and you've just got it into your head right away, and that's creative.
Yeah, partly agree with that. So, like, I think most of the times creativity is quite limited these days because, of course, because of technology. We have to mention technology right off the bat. I believe so because what you see on your phone 24/7. Because let's be honest, most of us are on their phone 24/7. We can't live without that. We
Yeah.
need information. We need to talk our friends, especially right now because we are at home. We cannot meet every single day with strangers, with other people. We need to have some interactions with other people, and the only thing what you can do is via, of course, social media and nothing else. But unfortunately, what you see, for instance, on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, these social media sites, what you see there on daily basis actually shuts your brain down because you have the visual effect of the outsider world, and you don't need to imagine things. This is why I believe, so it will be a strong statement, but when it comes down to reading a book or watching a film about sci-fi or action movies and things like that, of course it is appealing that you see on the screen when it comes down to action movies, but I believe that it's so much more fun when you can imagine what's happening. And of course I believe the level of imagination that you can have is equivalent to the creativity level of yours as well. So I believe if you try to improve your imagination, try to concentrate harder on read, for instance, you can train your brain by just reading a book, a fiction book which is about Star Wars or something. Then you have more space to discover in your brain. You have more you have more to imagine, because when it comes down to a screen and a film, your brain immediately shuts down because you don't have to visualize it on your own way. You don't need to think about anything else. Of course it's more convenient and comfortable, but I believe that these two things are quite equivalent to the other one, if you know what I mean right now. So the strength of your imagination really depends on the creativity level that you have. This is why I mentioned that right off the bat that we just started this podcast, that creativity comes into reality when you can imagine something, and then you take the like essential steps towards that to make that creative idea, to make that creativity, that intellectual something, to see that and visualize it in real world. And the only way to do that is through imagination, and to use your imagination to do that simple thing, like by just drawing or writing music, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, so I can totally agree with the fact that it's like creativity and your imagination is like connected. Um, and yes, generally speaking, for if you're reading a book, you need more imagination. But I also like to add that it's so watching a movie, I believe, does not close out to give your own imagination into it. Of course, a lot of people most likely not. But just for personal experience, this is why I'm sharing it. I always do. So like my imagination goes when I'm watching a movie as well. And this is a really interesting thing because I think our imagination is so complicated, and it reflects in everything.
Wait a minute, please. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about using your uh, creativity while watching a film, so can you give me a closer details about it? Because I just can't see your point of view. So
Uh,
what do you do when you're watching a film, a movie?
so like it's gonna be hard to explain, but I will try.
Good luck.
Yeah. So under this, I mean, one thing is definitely that I like you know when you, for example, stop the movie, or when you are after the movie, I play the scenes in my head differently. I imagine the scenes in my head differently. Uh, of course, I was saying that like after watching, but this also happens during watching, that there is a scene and it replays in a different way in my head. Of course, it's just fewer times during the movie because it's like the movie is going on, but it happens during the movie as well, and it happens a lot of times after the movie that like I add extra things into the scenes. I see a different perspective in the scene, or I imagine a different monologue in that scene. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
yeah, that's strong. Yeah, yeah, it makes a lot of sense, and it's great.
Yeah,
But
and yeah,
unfortunately, I believe most people don't do that. Like,
oh yeah,
next thing,
of course.
next thing, like, oh, this movie was good, but what if? I don't think so that most people think the same way, just as you do.
Oh yeah, of course. If like at the beginning, this is why I was starting with the fact that like I believe that you've got a point, and generally people do not. But
Yeah, yeah,
I just wanted to have the different perspective that it can happen,
of course,
and
and it's great, and it's great.
yeah, and this is the strength of creativity, by the way, that it can occur during anything, and I mean that. Like I think creativity can occur anytime and in any
Yeah,
situation.
best ideas can appear in shower during showering. Um,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we mentioned that so it can be worked on, it can be developed. Uh, I I think so I want to share a story of mine. I tried this method where you learn the cards in a in a deck of cards. So the order of the cards, and so how do you do it? The method for that is to learn each symbol and number, and give each symbol and number a word somehow that you can remember easily. And with this word, it's much easier to connect. So you have a wizard, and then you have a mountain, and you can easily connect. Not like when you have that I have a 7 of art. And this way, so I practiced it a lot. In the first, it wasn't going very well, so it was hard. And when I got better in it, I started realizing that I created amazing stories just by putting on random words, random things in a in a deck of cards, and with the same words, I was able to create so unbelievable stories. It was, I enjoyed it a lot. And it was just by using my creativity, because it wasn't anything else, just creativity and imagination. And yeah, I was able to learn, well, 20, 30 cards in a row.
Wow.
It was pretty much amazing experience, yeah.
Yeah, and this is what creativity really does. It really, you know, there was some like a visual experience in front of you with the deck of cards, and of course with the numbers and the symbols, but right off the bat you said, nah, fuck you, and I'm just gonna do something else with these. Most people do magic tricks, most people do like flipping the card, throwing the cards, and you said, nah. You said that, okay, all right, we should do something else. We should use our brain. We should use our creativity. We should use our imagination, and it's really great. It's really great. And this is how you can actually train, like, work your brain, work your like improve your imagination, improve your creativity level. This is what I believe. What I meant by training your brain, reading, imagine things, just like. Forget about the existence, forget about the real world, forget about the presence, and just like focus on your own stories, focus on your own imagination. And I bet you that after you have just made up the words and everything, and this flow actually came, there's just like in the storytelling. So you've told the story like 2 times, like 3 times, and over and over again, and it wasn't the same story, but the fluency and like the flow of the story was better every single time, got better every single time. Yeah. And it is because you've worked really hard in order to get to their flow, imagination, like the ideas just came repeatedly. It was a constant flow, and this is what every single people need, I believe so, because unfortunately, just imagine. So can I explain, or would you like to add something else, Roland, to this story?
You can explain.
All right, so every single day when it comes down to time managing, the easiest way to do so, the easiest way to push every single tiny little thing into your day is to live off of routines. So for instance, as for myself, I usually have my morning routine before lunch. routine before bed, routine, and every kind of routine, you know. And I usually plan my day. So like 4 p.m. workout, 5:30 cold shower right after workout. Then like after like 6 p.m. Study for school next day, test and things like that. Nighttime before bed, some YouTube, some reading, you know. So every single time I do a list. And because of we live in this hectic and accelerated world, you know, this world is so fast enough, you know, that we need to catch up with our time every single time. You wake up like 15 minutes later and you're like, oh no, I'm 15 minutes, like I've just lost 15 minutes of my day. And you know, every single time that we use these borders, use this like chunks in your days, that really gives you like the the essential like workflow of your day. This is what kills creativity, as a matter of fact. You know why? Because as for me, I don't have a simple minute when my brain wouldn't stop working about the next thing that I have to do. And because of that concentration on the real world, real time, presence, existence, I don't have time to use my creativity, because my creativity is killed right after I just concentrate on my daily habits, my daily things. And most of the people do that. Most of the people needs that, unfortunately. Most of the people needs to kill their creativity in order to catch up with their work, catch up with their studies, their time, their presence. You know, and I believe it's a great problem. It's one of the greatest problem in the world right now, because we need to do this. Besides artists, of course, besides those people who chose the other way.
Well, there are several work jobs that require creativity, so not just artists. So if we're talking about I don't know, an engineer, an architect, they also have to use their creativity. They have to solve problems, and that requires it. So not just artists. So let's broaden our horizon in this kind.
Yeah, of course, I can agree. I can agree with that totally. And this is why I said, like, right after we just started this podcast, that like, I consider myself quite a creative person, but now I just told you that I don't have much time for like that creativity that those people have, artists, like writers and those people, because I believe they are on a whole another level. So this is just my point of view. They don't solve problems with their creativity, they create things with their creativity. Of course, an engineer, like an architect, creates a house with their creativity, but I believe there are some parameters in that work, because you cannot just like say, all right, I'm just gonna go with a simple house which is shaped like SpongeBob. You cannot say that, because there's like some guidelines, you know, in the job as well. But writing a song, doing some art, there are no guidelines. You just do your shit. You just do what your brain dictates to you. You know.
So I believe I think in every kind of job and whatever your passion is, creativity exists. It just exists in a different way, in a very different way. Just to take an example, I really believe that, for example, science is a very creative thing. Of course, it is usually not considered creative because of the numbers and stuff like that. But it is, because then if you think about it, what do you need then when you sit down, an apple falls off the tree and you say it's gravity? Like, like you need creativity for it, because you've got an idea, it popped in, and you make something from it, of course, in a very different way. And I think the differentiating factor, for example, between how artists use creativity and how scientists or engineers and people like that use creativity, is that first, in these territories, there is more thinking in that creative thought. Because when you do art, you start to express yourself. You sit down and you do it. And you do it until you have inspiration. But when you have an idea, you've got an idea to plan the house or whatever. You sit down, you start planning, you have that imagination, but you've got to put a lot of thinking into it. You've got to count the numbers. You've got to think over the practical situations. You've got to do the math in it as well. You've got to reorganize all the things all over again to make it more and more practical, to make it more and more affordable and stuff like that. And so the differentiating factor, in my opinion at least, is that in art you right away express. In other things, you have an idea and you think about it.
So one is added with thinking. Yeah. That could be true.
Yeah, of course, but like you've mentioned this, like that that point when I believe creativity was born. So like Isaac Newton just like saw that, what the fuck, these apples are flying around, and he just said that, all right, this is gravity. How, but like you can, like, from a point of view of an artist, it is like you don't need equations, you don't need maths, you don't need guidelines, you don't need to work after your thoughts are in your thoughts are in your head, your imagination, because right off the bat, like Isaac Newton did, all right, this is strange, apples are falling on my head, so right now I should prove it that this is, let's say, gravity. So next thing you know, that he started to work on his equations, he started to work on his provement, not like provement, but he wanted to prove his ideas. But as an artist, as a writer, you don't need to prove anything. You don't need to work after your imagination shits on your paper, after your imagination replicates in your songs. You don't need to work on that. You don't need to, like, all right, sometimes you just need to get right the rhymes, everything, at the end of every single row to rhyme with the previous one. But this is the only thing that you just like need to think about, or just like how to use this color to express my emotions. But you don't need to work after that. You don't need to like prove anything else. But in engineering and architecture, you really need to do the hard work right after you have something in your head. You have something in your creativity, in your mind. This is why I believe we cannot even compare the two, because it's too different. It's like it cannot be compared to the other because with that one, engineering and stuff, you need to use both of your, like, half of your brains, like left side, right side as well.
Oh, that's not that easy, boy.
But I believe so you need to do that, like not at the same time, of course, but you need to concentrate on both of your like part of the brain. But on the other hand, an artist shouldn't use like one of the sides. I don't know which is exactly for like I think the left side is for every single logical sense, but I'm not sure about that. I'm not a scientist. I'm not an expert, sorry.
Surely not.
By the way, I would explain the situation with creativity and creativity in art and in everything else. Technically, it's like there's two sides of the coin. One is heads, and the other one is tails. It's the same coin, but it's completely different. Even though it's on the same coin, it's totally contrary to each other. And so I think uh, what is happening usually, for example, with art, because you want to express. Usually, arts are dependent on feelings, and you want to express those feelings, right? This is how usually art is formed. Um, while in science, you usually do not have a feeling towards gravity. I mean,
Like there's no emotions.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
I mean, of course, you can be passionate about, and that's cool. But that's all. But still not towards. You still not express your passion in creating gravity. You do not create gravity to express feelings. You create it because you think it has a possibility to prove things, and it actually had a lot of, as we know.
So like in the end, like we can all say that like the emotions are different. Like
Yeah,
this is what makes it like
Um,
like you cannot compare it because of like emotions, the existence of emotions.
I also like to add something, other difference. So when we're talking about these facts like gravity or every other said thing that somebody has said, and comparing this to a painting, if we are looking at it from some other people's point, so if you didn't made it, then if you look at something, a fact, then it's that. So you can't look at it in another way. It's that. It's detailed, and you can't see it from another view. But you can look at a painting and talk about everything that you came into your mind, because it isn't defined. It isn't very defined. And if I get 10 people and show them one painting, then they will have 10 different options, 10 different points of view about it. And this is interesting also. That yeah.
Yeah. It's quite fascinating. That
and
like
go on.
no, please.
Yeah, and you know what is even, I think, weirder, but like not in a bad way, but weirder. That I believe this phenomena exists in science as well.
Yeah,
And
that's what I wanted to add actually.
yeah, because of course there are objective rules in science. There are objective point of views in science, and that's needed. That's how science work. However, I believe a sort of subjective perception in certain situations are occurring in science. To just take an example, when there is a theory, that is not proven yet, then 10 different scientists came and they will say 10 different explanations for it, and they are explanations of the same thing. Of course, after a time, one will be proven or not, or even two will be proven, or three. You cannot really know. But even more excitingly, I think, when it's proven, it still can be proceeded in a different way. Because let's just take an example. The theory, let's just stick with gravity, and so the theory of gravity existed. It seemed to be pretty cool, and it was proven that it is working. And then came a very famous scientist, Albert Einstein, and said, "Hey, okay, this is good. This has its points, but we have to change things in it." And he got a different perspective into the already accepted theory. And then later on, in the 20th century, somebody came and even questioned Albert Einstein. And this is always happening in science as well. Just, of course, what I would say that in art is like mainly subjective. It's mainly on how you attach to that certain content or certain thing that you see or read or hear. While science is often objective, but can be subjective as well, if this makes sense.
Big break time.
Yeah, of course, but like you can just like fuck up everything that like Vincent van Gogh said about his painting. You don't need to see that like you don't need to build on his ideas, but in science you need to consider every single idea, because if it might be proven, then you better not to just like say, all right, it is proven, it is fact, but right now I'm not gonna consider that, and just like that throw it into the trash can and move on with your own ideas. But in art and in like the other side of the table, the other side of the coin, you can do that. That just you like, oh, this painting means to you love, all right, it means that for me. You can easily do that because you can explain that. You don't need to build on these. You don't need to build on those emotions of other people. And this is why I emphasize the word emotions, because these, like in connection with art, these are just like built on emotions. There is no logical sense at all. This is why I really don't get along with literature at all, unfortunately. It is just like my thing, and of course Roland's thing as well, and of course Domi's thing as well, because we usually think the same. And I believe we can all agree on this fact that every single time that we need to do a speculation about a poem, you know, when you just like need to like tell whether there's a metaphor in there, whether there's a comparison in the like on that specific line, and so on. You know, you need to talk about the structure of that, things like that. I hate it so much, because every single time I try to do it myself, I see every single stuff differently. And you know why? Because it is based on emotions. There is no logical sense in literature. There is no logical sense in art. And of course, logical sense and relative point of view, that you just like don't let in emotions, and on the other side, you throw everything out into the trash can, which can be easily connected to like logical sense and common sense as well, and you only follow your emotions. And this is why I believe that we just can't compare the two together. But we just did like for 25 minutes. So
Guys,
it's funny to say that, you know. We try to, at least we try to.
we neglected the comment section.
Oh,
yeah.
shit.
So take a look at it, please.
Can I read it, the first one, please?
Yeah, of course, go on.
All right. So they think it's interesting because, as for me, sometimes like they don't have an idea before. They just let themselves do the thing and interrupt it afterwards. And of course, this is only applies like to painting. And I believe I totally can agree with this statement because, like I said, you don't need to plan like before you paint, before you paint stuff, before you do art. You don't need to do that. But before building a house, you need to use your logical sense that 600,000 meter wall won't work with a 5 millimeter wide structural like inside of the building, you know.
But sometimes still being able to jump and not look at the logical sense will bring that new perspectives and the new houses, new styles that
yeah, of course,
that each
yeah.
generation has. So one person will just come up with something, and everybody can look at it, him, her, and think that he, her just stupid, and don't look at the logical side. But it might start something new. So yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You need to fuck up the rules in order to get there where you want to be. Of course, I can agree with that totally. But like, considering engineering and architecture and things like that, technology really limits these, unfortunately, because when you have something in your head, you need to consider technology, what our like situation and state of technology is, because of course extraordinary is the better one every single time. I usually say it is that when you're extraordinary, out of the ordinary, then you really have something. You really will be somebody in this world, you know, when you can think out of the box, when you are out of the box every single time. And it brings innovation, just as you said. And it's crazy and it's ridiculous that this can happen. But unfortunately, when it comes down to science, I believe so. And these things like engineering and architecture and like every single stuff that needs to be some way, somehow connected to be like to technology, it is limited. But when it comes down to emotions, it's not limited. You think what you want to think.
By the way, if you think about it, when it comes down to these as you said, technological things, it's like thinking outside of the box, but still being in the box.
Yeah, you need to do both things because of your limitations.
Because
yeah.
like there will be things that you just cannot let go.
Yeah, sometimes the external can really control the internal ideas as well. So
yeah, because
especially these. Yeah.
Because if you think about it, you plan an enormous building, and then you think and you imagine and you already draw that it's gonna look better without pillars. Okay, that's cool, but you cannot do it because then that building will most likely fall apart. Like it needs to have pillars still.
Yeah.
Yeah, and by the way, I think it's really interesting. We haven't really talked about creative problem solving. because that is what occurs in, I believe, in every job. Even if you are in a totally ordinary company, you've got to, or like, it's a good skill to have creative problem solving, which is, I don't know, what do you think on it, like, of how important that is, but I believe it just makes both of your work easier and your everyday life, because it's like, when you've got a problem, and no matter the scale of the problem, you can get a different way, and that different way is a personalized way because you got it your own way.
About problem
Yeah.
solving, I have a great story. I love this memory. So we were in Greece, I think, and we met seller, shopkeeper, a seller, and he was trying to sell pancakes, and when he understood that we were Hungarian, so we were talking in Hungarian. He recognized it and started talking to us in Hungarian, like mama csinálta palacsinta, and this was the moment when I realized that you can be better in every single day, every single way. If you do something, then you can improve in it. And this is a creative problem solving. So back to the topic, and I think he had a lot of language in his mind to win the people around him, to be more successful in what he's doing. And yeah, of course we went to him and bought some pancakes. It was just, he just won us.
But this is, I won't tell the whole story, but like, I have a completely same story with this, and it just right away true what you said. Like these things actually won you, and when you are, for example, if we're talking about marketing, it starts to be very it's very popular. In the 21st century, and it's about how you win people. And usually the biggest campaigns, the coolest marketing materials were new stuff, were marketings which were never seen before, in a very different way than we used to see it, and those got the biggest hit. Or of course, it's just a thing that you can remember in that certain marketing material, and that's, again, you need to have a lot of creativity to do marketing, I believe. Especially, and this is especially hard, for example, if you think about how many competition you have around, because there are so many commercials everywhere. And having a new idea in marketing is just incredibly hard. But for being very successful, you need to. And that's very, very interesting, I think. Also, if we think about just normally sailing, when you wanna sell your products, you've got to win people. And also, if you run a company, that's again a very different example, but if you run a company, then you've got to start to think outside the box, to think that like there is a problem, and to have a solution in a way that is perfect for your company and for you, and of course like not harmful for most of the people, but that's another case. And so you've got to have a very creative problem solving for it when there is a very new situation, because when you're running a company, it can easily occur that you get into situations which you've never been to, obviously, and then you've got to think fast. You've got to have an idea fast to solve it. And
But like,
yeah,
you just like end the sentence, or just like your thoughts, everything, and I'm gonna just like think about my like ideas.
So just it's that no matter what we see, the fact is that if you've got a new way of solving something, or if you've got just a creative way of solving something, then that solution gonna be more successful. It's gonna pay off more, and not literally, but like the
experience.
And also the whole plan of yours most probably will be better. Not always, obviously, because we haven't really touched that part, but sometimes creativity can lead into a lot of failure as well, because you experience outside the box. You do something that is unsure, and in that case, failure is still a big possibility. It's the typical situation of if you solve things, if you think things as in the box, you're gonna have a sure life. You won't have enormous success. You won't have enormous failure either. But when you go outside of it, then you don't know where you are going. It may well be a fascinating jungle, but it could be a disastrous desert as well. You don't know where you're going, and it's like the risk is way higher, and of course the end result can be way higher too.
Yeah, high risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Every single time. Bigger the risk, bigger the reward is at the end, of course. It is, and I believe it is great. It is great. I want to fail. I want to fall. I want to be unsuccessful. I wanna go through dry deserts. I wanna feel pain. I wanna feel every single cells in my body to just like crying for help, because in order to toughen up, in order to keep up with this world, you need to be tough, man. You need to fail, you need to fall, you need to cry, you need to feel the pain. You need to think out of the box, because when you're inside of the box, when you're inside of your comfort zone, it's fucked. You cannot move on. You won't be able to carry you won't be able to carry your weight. You won't be able to carry your emotions. You won't be able to reach your goals, because every single time there's a huge wall in front of you, you will try to find another way. But those people who goes through every single time the toughest times of their life, they just ran towards the wall with their heads and tries to smash it. Tries to go through every single time. It won't happen for the first time. But like, let's take an example. Light bulb, every single time. We usually say this 1,000 times he tried. He should have said, all right, I don't give a shit. No one cares about electricity anymore. Nah, he didn't choose that path, He tried one more time. And I believe he would have tried 10,000, 100,000, 1,000,000 times again. because he wanted that so hard, because he felt the pain before he could use that pain in order to get there. This is important, and I believe we should get back to this topic right off the bat, that we just answered the next question, because I believe we just like this question as well, unfortunately. Like about fashion designers and things. So try to memorize this part of the conversation, because it's really interesting, I believe so, and it's yeah. So shall I just like
read it, of course. Go on.
all right, so what are your opinions about creativity of fashion designers, in addition to today's trend in fashion, which can be attributed to like creativity? Would you like to answer these, guys? Because I need to think about it a little bit,
I've already read the question and I was thinking about it a bit, so I can go first.
All right.
All right.
Yeah, so I think first of all, it's cool to have fashion designers. I mean, it's just really cool. I so many times love what they're doing. It's also a way of art, I believe, and that's really good. However, I sort of had, on the other hand, that having fashion can have a negative influence on expressing yourself and having your creativity in clothing. And I'm not saying not everyone needs that. A lot of people do not need that. Doesn't need that. Like, they just don't wanna. But when you want to have a creative clothing, I would say, then fashion can be against that. It's because of the fashion industry that is going on. There is a certain amount, like a certain quality that you've got to do with clothing. Which is like, I'm not talking about hygiene or anything, but you've got to wear these stuff to look good, and it's like a social pressure there, and because of that, you start to scale back your way of clothing because it is maybe different, or it is maybe not the ordinary, or we can just say it's not fashionable. And so my opinion is that, like, it's really cool to have fashion designers, but I believe the surrounding social pressure of the fashion industry is not okay, and especially because, like, if you think about it, why on earth couldn't you wear anything you want to? I mean, who are you hurting with your clothing? Nobody.
I've always looked up to everybody who had the courage to dress differently. So not that fashion that that fashion that everybody is carrying on. Just being different and maybe getting a little more out of this clothing thing, and it's just unbelievable, because why on earth do we keep following trends that somebody, they just don't like it? And still they're going on because this is what society expects of them to do. And this is where trend starts, I think, when somebody is pushed into, but still anybody can choose. So everybody has a choice what he or she wants to wear, and it can tell lots about the people in our world. So how you dress is, yeah, this is the outside. This is the, how do you say this? This is what people see about yourself, and this is how you can show them what are you, and what qualities do you have, and how creative you are also. So yeah, clothing is a big topic, and I thank you for your comments. I have a lot of I will think about it after the podcast, I think.
Yeah. By the way, to just fastly cover an example, I personally experienced that, like, for long time, I just wore what I was told to, like, uh, wear this, and I wore that. I was just like, oh, okay, I don't care. I seriously don't care. And it never been a really big thing for me. And then, interestingly, one day, one of my first really actual decision of mine in my look was to dye my hair blue. I was always thinking of that, and this was and approximately a year ago, by the way, I actually did. It was already an amazing feeling, and then I started looking at clothes, which are not like sort of flannels, and it doesn't really matter, by the way, but like not the everyday fashion clothes. That's the fact. And I started putting my outfit together, I could say. And then I suddenly realized how, wait up. Previously, I didn't care about this just because I could never actually express of a look which I love, which I genuinely love. And then when 1 year ago I experienced this, I was like, hey, this is fucking cool.
Yeah. I feel you. I can see what you mean. I'm just trying to like cover like the other side of the statement. Like that, of course, we need to make a difference between high-end fashion clothing and the public fashion clothing, because what we see usually every single day at school, in school, like in parks, everywhere, cinema, this is public fashion clothing. But like when it comes down to high-end fashion clothing, I'm really into that stuff. But unfortunately, if I wear those things, I wouldn't be able to concentrate on buying those stuff that are actually meaning something to me. Those things really mean something to me. So when it comes down to clothing, I'm really like strict with my money, because I don't think so that thing and high-end fashion can work every single time, because there are some formal situations when you need to wear like with some trousers, and you just can't go there with your Yeezys and with your high-end fashion clothing stuff, with your off-white belt. It is cool, it is crazy cool, it looks really cool, but unfortunately these things aren't like available to a lot of people because of like money, because these things are quite expensive. And sometimes, yes, money can buy style, but most of the times it just can't. It just can't, of course. But to see the other side of the statement as well, I believe that like high-end fashion clothing and those creators that use their creativity to prove that high-end fashion clothing just took off and it will make a huge ass difference between clothing and clothing. Yeah, I believe that it is ridiculously good. It is ridiculously great. It is really good. I really love to see like on Instagram and things like that these like those people who are just like committed to this kind of stuff, they wear these things and it looks really cool. It's not for me. It's not for me because I can't imagine myself in those clothes. If I had the money, if I had more money, I wouldn't buy it either. So it's like it's another thing for me. But who wears them? You know something, man. So like, it's simple as that. We have another question. Then I believe we should trace back to our topic with like
one thing before we go on with the question, to just have the reaction to the fashion thing, because like that's still the fashion thing. So and I can definitely agree with the thought. I don't know if you're familiar with alternative fashion or not, uh, but so the commenters had that it's getting more and more popular, in fact, and it is a great example, by the way. And alternative fashion, I don't know, I cannot really explain, and I don't know if you know that.
I'm not sure, but isn't it like when you take a type of clothing from the late 80s, 70s, and you try to make it up for the viral trends that are in fashion, to put in one cloth both of them, like viral like stuff and alternative like fashion as well? Or isn't it this like that, like old like old clothing stuff
So
like mixed into these viral things? Isn't it like that? I'm not
acco-
familiar.
according to Google, alternative fashion consists punk, gold, indie, hipster, the clothing of the 80s, 90s, as you were saying. These are the alternative clothing.
It's great. It's really great. I can agree with that.
Yeah, and so what is really cool, I think, is that it is getting into the fashion industries and the fashion designers as well, and we start to just expand our variety of the fashion, and I think that's so great.
Yeah, it's important because the more clothing like sectors you have, the more opportunities you have, then the more abilities to emphasize your personality in the end. So it's like it's ridiculously good. I need to just like repeat myself because it's quite good, because we have the opportunity to show the world like physically that who we really are. You know, it's important. It's important.
Yes. Yeah.
I have a question for you guys. So
Yeah.
it might be a little, so it might require a little thinking, a time to think about it. So, what would you change if you had the ability to change this fashion today? So, if you could be a fashion designer, if you could uh, contribute to this fashion thing, what would you change, and what you like about it, and what you don't like about it? If, little out of topic, but I'm just curious.
No, it's connected to fashion. It's quite good. It's quite good question. Would you like to answer first, Roland, or shall I go?
I have to think about this actually.
All right. So like, as a matter of fact, I like every single type of clothing. So I don't mind when, for instance, there's a dude who like paints his nails because he tries to emphasize something with that. I don't mind when there's like a girl who wears like a hoodie which she actually bought off of that like men's wearing sector of the store, you know. So I think it's a beautiful thing that we can actually have the ability to choose from a lot of things, and I wouldn't change anything because the word just like goes to like a a destination which is far away, I have to mention, we are not there yet, but the word is trying to turn into a more into like this acceptance thing, and I believe it is really good. One thing, oh yeah, actually there's one thing I would change. Like uh like the rows, you know, when there's like there's menswear, there's women's wear, there's clothing for kids. Actually, if I were like a designer or something, if I would be like the CEO of every single fashion store in the world, I would abolish those signs, because every single person should have the ability to wear what they want. So I believe that there's nothing wrong with that, you know. So this is the only thing, but like as for me, there's nothing else.
Yeah, so what's gonna be a little bit weird that I sort of have similar thoughts as you do, because I think if I could change one thing in fashion, is that the acceptance of fluidity, that like fluidity between different styles, between different genders, because as Baruch was just explaining, it can be so cool when a man paints their nail. If you likes you, then it can be so cool. Or we can go on with thousands of examples. Or also, I think it would be really cool to have to having different styles together, when you just not stick with one certain style. What you can go with being both hippie and punk. I was just saying a random thing, but like with anything. And of course, it does not mean that you cannot commit to just one thing, actually, to just one certain style. But I would be really amazed if we could just get the fluidity into that from the start till the end. We can cover anything we want, and we can change the clothes as we want to, because I believe that if you want to wear a clothes, and if you wear it with pride, and you wear it with happiness, it gonna suit you. It's gonna look good on you, no matter the type of the clothes. So for me, maybe the answer could be fluidity, which is pretty similar what Patrick said. And for example, the sword thing could be also a really good example of that.
Yeah, but as for me, on the other hand, like the specific clothing which really suits a job, for instance, I wouldn't let that go, on the other hand. So like, I think when it comes down to some formality in the word, you really should show that respect via clothing. How you look. You look smart. You look like you look like you streetwear, or like things like that. So like, when there's something like a celebration which is formal because you just won the Oscar, you know, you shouldn't go there like in a jumper and a sweatpants, you know, because you really should show like some respect towards other people, towards the celebration, towards yourself as well, because you should look smart, you know. So yeah, this is my thoughts, that everyone should wear what they really want, but when it comes down to like formality and formal way of clothing, I wouldn't change that, because speaking from experience, I really like smart clothing, and I really like that structure of formal clothing as well. So
Elegancy. So,
yeah,
dear viewers, this was the visual representation of creativity. I asked them a question, and they were talking about it. I don't know, for 10 minutes straight, and they covered topics that we could talk about till morning. So this is what creativity is really. So connecting the dots and really just connect every single thing and coming up with ideas with just simply. So it's just flowing. So I you haven't got a lot of time to think about it, but still you were able to just explain what are your thoughts, and these are in your head right now, and I really think this is what every people need, to just have an opinion and being able to share it with the world with certainty. Certainty, yeah.
By the way, this is like just incredible, because as you were just saying, that's technically creativity and creative thinking, and meanwhile I was explaining my stuff, it pops in. That's how amazing are talking about creativity. We sort of even started the podcast with this, but talking about creativity is creative itself, and that's really cool, I think.
of course, I can agree with that 200%. However, we have questions. At least one I can see that we haven't answered yet. So shall we go on?
Yeah,
Or would you like to add something else to this clothing section of the podcast?
we can go. As for me, at least.
Yeah, go on. You covered everything.
All right.
Right.
So, hello guys. Do you think schooling and institutionalization really restricts, inhibits the innate creativity? So, when it comes down to creativity, you are born with something you know, because your personality, of course, develops over time when you meet other people, when you meet your first friends, your first when you get into your first relationship, where you born, it is really depends on you born, the cultural stuff, religious stuff, every single thing that surrounds you really influences your creativity level, imagination, and of course the way of thinking, the specific mindset of yours, of course, as well, and your whole personality. So do you believe, guys, that this institutional system that we live in, you need to go to preschool, you then you should move on to elementary school, then you should choose from whether you go to a vocational school where you can have a trade, and then you can move on with your life and work, or you should go to grammar school and stuff like that, and go to higher education as well, like college, universities. So do you believe, guys, that these institutional things ruins your creativity, and but it's not intentional? I have to say that these institutions are not for the bad cause. These are not against the specific person, but unfortunately, because we try to I just should do this right now. So if you guys haven't seen the previous podcast about education, you really should watch and listen to that as well, because we have covered a lot of things in that as well, which was in connection with education. So be sure to check out that as well, because this can be like connected in a little bit of way. Like, so back to like my thoughts. So I need to concentrate more. Sorry guys. So like so like, do you believe this institutional thing actually can ruin your creativity towards like everything? Like, what's your thoughts about this? Or do you need time? Because I have ideas, but like, you can answer as well if you have thoughts right off the bat.
Well, there are several things that could that I would change in the school system and these kinds of educational schools. In the topic of creativity, because we are clearly not covering this, so we're on the dates and the facts. Creativity should have a much higher, much more focus in everyday life. So it should be taught, I think, to the children from childhood, because we all need that, and we should be taught how to use our creative, our thoughts, to build the life we want to live in, because it's a power. This is the power of humans. I would say that we can come up with new ideas. We are not following our instincts. No, we're human beings. We can improve ourselves with this thing called creativity.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah.
Roland, any thoughts? Any additional things?
So I think I of course, like surprise, I can agree with both of you. Just
I haven't said a thing. I just read the question.
oh
No, sorry, just move on.
fuck it. I'm sorry. But anyway, so I think education and educational stuff, like not education, no. So when you start being part of the system, and you are going within the system, it does restrict your creativity. And I'm not saying it completely abolishes it, because it does not. But as if you think about it, we were we were talking a lot about thinking outside the box. You cannot think outside the box within a system which gives you brick walls. You cannot. Of course, you can try to think in these. You can try to think of what could be the other part of the wall, what could be the other side of the wall. But you cannot get out there completely. You cannot smash that wall. And into the problem is, whereas is that we actually pushed into this, and we are not let to embrace our personality, which is not just stressful, but in a lot of times this is the end result, that you've got unhappy or unwanted life. Of course, that's beyond restricting creativity. Like, there are way more factors in that. It just popped in from that. And so the fact is that generally, I think it restricts it. But on the other hand, I cannot argue with the fact that until a certain point, it also has to be restricted. Like, you cannot create a totally loose system. You've got to have the limitations of the system. I
Yeah, of
think
course.
what we need is flexibility. You know, it's
when it comes down to schooling. Yeah.
school. Yeah, but same with jobs. Same with the system itself. That it's about flexibility, because we want a system. We want a working system. We want a system that gives you help, gives you like guidelines. But we also want to let ourselves to continue these guidelines and express these guidelines more and more and expand them.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I actually, as a matter of fact, I don't want to add anything else because you've covered everything that I just wanted to add. So yeah, I can agree with like both of you guys. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, unfortunately, sometimes people really need to have some limitations because when it comes down to like work ethic and attitude, most people don't like have like the dedication towards these two things. And in order to keep up with your work, in order to keep up with your life, you need to have some deadlines, you need to have some dates. I mean, your work should be done by this time. So like these limitations should be there, because when a specific person thinks that they have a lot of time to do something, what most people do, they just laying around in bed, doing nothing. And then right before the day before the deadline, they start working on it because they know that there's a deadline. But like a month ago, it was like a huge amount of time. You just couldn't, you just didn't care because, all right, I have a month. Who cares about that? No one cares about my future from a month from now. Yeah, like I could be dead. No one cares about that, So no one cares about the long-term future, and I believe it's like the problem of the society. It's a problem of the society as well. It's like a social root which can trace back to like before the times of the great what kind of revolution we had. I just don't know the exact name. What kind of revolution was that? I know in Hungary, yeah, like the first one, like when we
The Hungarian.
when we brought in new type of machines like
Industrial Revolution, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Thank you. So like, and it comes from that era, I believe, so that we cannot even concentrate on the long-term future, and we don't work today for our long-term future, and we just let our future go. We just go with the flow, you don't care about your work, and right off the bat, you consider, you recognize yourself, you're just about to turn this assignment in, and you are just about late. And I do this a lot of time, unfortunately, when it comes down to school. But when it comes down to other areas in life, I am the first. I usually do every single stuff as fast as possible.
So
This is why I believe.
I have to add that it's been, I think this procrastination, it's been in humans for a long time, since the beginning. So it isn't started with the industrial. How do you say that? But what was that?
Industrial Revolution.
A revolution. No, it's been in human life for years, for thousands of years, for hundreds of years. We just don't see it from this 2021. But there was this. So it isn't a new revolution. It isn't a bad trade that we gained during these modern years. No, it's with us, with humans. I had to add it.
I think we could say it's like human nature.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying it's okay, but like, probably it has been with us for a reason, for so long, or like.
And we don't know
always.
would you like to explain the reason? Because actually, I have no clue. I have no single clue, nothing, because it isn't us, you know. But I usually can't answer like myself neither, because I know something, like it's just an idea. But what if we usually delay those things in life that we don't really want to do those things, you know?
You know, I would say that's not necessarily the case. Can be. I cannot argue with that. It can be the case. But I think we so many times procrastinate because we are afraid. We do it because we're not ready. Or we are feeling not ready. Because, so like, I would say, you don't want to do the test tomorrow when you already been studying for one day because you're feeling not ready. You don't want to. You want to do it in 2 or 3 days, because then by the time then you will feel ready to the test.
And will you feel ready? When will you feel ready? So I see people start struggling with that.
Yeah,
No,
I mean,
no one will be ready. So when I'm doing my driving license, and yeah, I always feel that I'm not. I need more practice before my test, and yeah, there's that fear, but also, well, I don't think that procrastination comes from fear. Even though I can't explain it, but I don't really think that.
so I think indeed that people are struggling with this. Like, I cannot argue with that. But I believe that this is like when you will be ready, when you feel ready. It's like you will know when you feel ready. Like, I cannot tell you, I cannot explain you. You will just know. And yeah, the question is up. There is a thin line between when you actually feel ready, but you are not starting it, and when you are not ready and you are not starting it. It's two very different things, but very similar feelings, because both of them are procrastination. just one is understandable and the other one is just, I mean, understandable but not good for you.
Well, the true question is, where do we started this conversation? I mean,
Yeah. I think we should either end, or we should just like try to trace back to the certain topic, because yeah, we just
Yeah,
little bit like
a little bit. Firstly, I will then close up with a comment on this then, because like that's reasonable. So there is a thought of that schools sometimes encourage creativity, like math or science, things people actually learn. But when it comes down to art or inspiration, they often destroy it. Honestly, just a very, very quick thought on that one. I believe that generally school, at least my experience in Hungarian school, is that they do not emphasize creativity in science, for example. They could, because there is creativity in science, but they do not emphasize it at all. Of course, even with I think with art, it's even on a higher scale, because of how, we were just talking about how art is expression and it's right away, and you cannot teach that. Like, you can. I mean, or maybe you can. I don't know. But it's hard to teach that, I believe. So yeah, I don't know if you have any further thoughts on this comment.
like unfortunately, yeah, in our system it's quite different, because even though there could be like some creativity hidden in some subjects, some subjects, like we usually don't concentrate on that part. And for me, not just during this like online like education, but like every single educational like possibility, sometimes every single lesson is the same for me. You just write down notes, yeah, and that's that. You actually don't use your creativity, you don't go into practical stuff, you just learn about the like the way of thinking, so like lexical knowledge, and it's not, it doesn't develop your creativity. It really doesn't, unfortunately, and we have to put up with that. So like,
Yeah, you
it is what it is. Yeah.
You know what is weird, and I've just realized that. So, these days I've been going ready to a competition, which is about having ideas. Actually, it's a science competition on science stuff. It doesn't really matter in this context what it is, but this competition is completely about ideas, about your own ideas. And my gosh, these days I've been just so passionate and so encouraged of finally having my own thoughts, my own ideas into something. And it's so weird that it's like it's like a complete new experience, especially in a school situation, that I actually can get my own creativity in actually, it's an essay, by the way. And so it's so weird that we're missing it so much, that when it happens, when it actually happens, you just go like, man, this is amazing. And you are just like, when like a literally first time experience, until in a certain bracket, of course.
Yeah, I can agree with that totally. Yeah, so what's left? because we've been podcasting like for nearly 2 hours.
Oh.
So I don't know.
Well, we have a good morning text. Nothing else, as I see it. Thank you, and God
Yeah,
bless you. Yeah.
Good morning to you as well.
yeah, and I believe that this is like a, creativity kicks in right now, like never before. So we definitely should do something like a marathon of podcasting. So like we will have a break. I don't know whether Domi, like, will you have something like next week, like 2 days off, something like that, like
Well,
skiing, like holiday or something like that?
well, I have to check my calendar. Sorry.
All right, then, like 1 weekend we should do this, like, because as you can see, guys, as you can listen to us, we would be able to do this for hours, if I'm
Yeah.
not mistaken. So
Yeah.
like this year, or at least like I wanna do this month. So what you guys think about like a 6 hour straight podcasting marathon?
Oh, sounds really, really great. Yeah.
Yeah, every single hour there will be like a whole another topic. So like we would be able to discuss like 6 topics in a row.
I mean,
That would be crazy. That would be incredibly
It's
huge.
incredible. Yeah.
yeah,
All right, all right. Yeah,
So
we will
we're
do this.
working on that. Yeah.
Yeah, we will do this. We will definitely do this. We just need to find the right time for that. Yeah.
yeah,
And sleep a
that's
lot before
yeah,
prepare.
but that's an amazing idea. I think, as you can see, both three of us are into it. So, period. Um, yeah. Is there anything left, guys? At least for today's podcast.
I think we literally covered a lot of things.
Yeah,
So I don't think so that I'm left like with any single thought. So
yeah,
like close it up, wrap it up with something.
yeah. I will try. So, yeah, this podcast was as uh, we consider a lot of things. I think in case of creativity. But I think the main takeaway, especially from these lot of things, could be the fact that how colorful creativity is, because you could see how different topics we covered, like we covered art, we covered science, we covered education, we covered fashion, we covered actually life.
Reaching your goals, maybe
Yeah,
like
yeah,
your
yeah.
future. Yeah.
Yeah, and these are topics which are nowhere connected or not really connected, but then in one podcast we talked about all of them because of creativity, and I think this shows how, as even in the title, universal creativity is. And actually, that's all I've got to say. If you enjoy this podcast, then be sure to subscribe. Also, hit us a like. It helps a lot, guys. And also, a share would be just miraculous because it helps us reaching more people out there. And if you love our content, then it's really amazing if you could help us. Also, on top of that, we've got Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, where you can follow us. We always put out that we will have a podcast or we are podcasting or whatever, so you can get updated on those sites. And if you wanna get notified, then just be sure to check the bell icon as well. And thank you for the attention. See you next time.
Thank you, and yeah, looking forward to our next episode.
Yeah,
Bye.
goodbye, guys.